Welcome back again to another session of Open Mic. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I have with me a very special guest, Miss Rosanee Bunbury. Of course, you guys know she's running with the Virgin Islands Party as an at-large candidate. So we want to welcome her. Tonight we'll hope to hear from her, her vision, her plan to be a part of this historical, unpresidential election 2015. So welcome, Miss Rosanee.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
All right, we're glad to have you. Let's start by first asking you, what is your plan? What is your, well, let's start by asking you to give us a little of your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a Virgin Islander. I was born in Rotown, Tortola, to parents Naomi, Anthony Rosanne, and Joseph Rosanne. I attended the Eastern Primary School. In those days, the principal was Macfield Malone, affectionately at those times called Teacher Mac. I had teachers like Teacher Juliet, Teacher Lendon, Jenny Wheatley, Teacher Juliet. Later on, I went on to the Elmer Stout High School. Back then, it was called the Beverly High School. And at that time, the principal was Omar Smith. From there, I went on to tertiary education. By profession, I am an attorney at law, a lawyer. I have my own law firm, Rosanne Law, here in Rotown, Tortola. Growing up, I grew up in a religious home. My mother, Naomi, was a staunch Christian with a lot of principles to give. My father, he is not originally from the Virgin Islands. He's from Guadeloupe. His native language is French. And they were both very hard-working people. For me, growing up, my parents relied on each other. There wasn't a lot of interference in the home, and I grew up in what we call a nuclear family. Mother and father in the house, and they were both very determined, independent type people, and they passed on a lot of principles to us. For instance, my father, although he's a mason and a carpenter by trade, he didn't make a lot of money, but that didn't stop him. It was 4 of us, and he would go out fishing in the afternoon. He made his own fish pots. He would pull fish pots in the afternoon. He planted. He had ground. Every plant that you can think on, he had there. And what we call a green thumb is what he has. And so he taught us to take care of ourselves, be able to feed ourselves. Our mother was a disciplinarian in the sense that she taught us different principles by which to live by. I remember when I was in primary school, on the first try, I didn't pass the primary 5 exam. I was disappointed. And my mother looked at me, and this is a lesson that she taught me that I have with me today. It's one of my mottos. And she said, Jamin, not to the swift is the battle, not to the strong is the battle, not to the swift is the race, but to the true and the faithful, victory is promised to grace. And from then, I am what I consider to be a very resilient person. I expect that there will be challenges in life, and from there, I continually move on, because whatever challenges you meet, they're preparing you for something else, because gold is pressed through the fire before it can become gold.
That's right.
So, you know, I remember her. She passed on, and it was very hard on the family. But all the lessons that she taught us, they're there with me, and I use them to continue day to day.
So you hope to carry that forward right now. You obviously have a big family or a small family?
I'm part of a very big family. My mom has 8 of us, and my dad has 8 of us, and they have 4 together.
Wow.
In the middle.
So it's 20. 8 and 4.
Well, 4 of us would be in the center, and part of the 8 on each side.
Wow, wow. So that makes you sort of, like you said, a resilient, strong-minded, determined kind of person, huh?
I love to call myself the love child, because the 2 of them together, I'm their first child.
Oh, awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you, obviously you're in the race.
Yes.
It's a very competitive race.
Yes.
Time didn't permit you guys a lot of time to really contest the election, but you're here, and
Right.
you're going to put forth your best effort.
I intend
Why,
to.
why are you in the race? Why run? Why not stay with your law practice?
Well, for me, I decided to run because I am not happy with the state of affairs in the country. I grew up under the Virgin Islands Party administration. I was schooled under Virgin Islands Party administration. And and for me, when the Virgin Islands Party is in power, this has been my experience. The country is happy. The environment is lighter. We've had the National Democratic Party in power on 2 occasions. And for me, on those both occasions, the country has seen its worst days. I remember the first time that they came in, the motto was government in the sunshine. And for me, they were hard on the people, and they focus on the 1% as opposed to the 100% all Virgin Islanders. They asked for a second opportunity, and we as Virgin Islanders are very generous people, forgiving people, and they were given a second opportunity. And this time when they came in, to my mind, it's worse than the first, because we have a situation now. They have reaffirmed their position that they are government of the 1% and the remaining 99% cups are empty. The Virgin Islands Party has always been a party for the people, by the people, and of the people. I believe that is the correct party to be a part of, and that is why I joined that party.
All right, well, Ms. Rosanne, that's all good and dandy. Obviously, you're running. What do you hope to bring to the party? What's your 3 main concerns in addition to your overall plan?
The main concern in the country right now is unemployment, the increased cost of living, and the issue of good governance. The platform that I am bringing forward has a lot to do with pushing a 3rd pillar in the economic pie. For the past number of years, we've been solely relying on the financial services or offshore finance industry and the tourism industry. Those are 2 good industries. We can try to maintain our share in that market. But I believe for the country to grow, and to grow in a way that it can be sustained, we call it sustainable development and growth, we need a 3rd pillar and perhaps more. The 3rd pillar for me is agriculture, to include livestock, farming, poultry, and we have the fisheries industry. Those 2 industries we need to push, because they will stimulate jobs, business opportunities. It will be sustainable business opportunities. In terms of these industries, there's also the situation where we as an island, we depend solely on international sources for our food. And if we follow up on these 2 industries, the agriculture industry in terms of the livestock, poultry, and our fishing industry, we will be able to create some sort of food security, because a country that is going to be successful must be able to feed, clothe, and house itself. Right now, 1 bad batch of crab dinner to the BVI can do great harm to the country, because we produce nothing. We're just a consumer state, and we need to get to the place where we can be a producer state, or at least try to be. In pushing forward that 3rd pillar, I am looking also in pushing alternative sources of energy, renewable energy. Because if we're going to produce or manufacture, we're going to have to find ways of having reduced overhead, because you can't have high labor costs and high energy costs. Our product wouldn't be price effective or competitive. And the renewable energy industry also creates its own industry. That's a way of promoting new jobs, additional jobs, and create business opportunities in addition to what we have. Those that is part of my platform. The other half of my platform has a lot to do with good governance, and under that good governance, I'm looking into ministerial accountability. and judicial reform and accountability as well. I combine those two together. Why I say this? Because if you're going to push the other industries, the foundation of this needs to be good governance, the social aspect of things for these other industries, the agriculture, the renewable energy, and the other options that the members of my party are pushing to be sustainable and effective. I'm legally trained by profession. I think that if we put in place some sort of policies and measures, more detailed than we have, in relation to how ministers should behave in general in carrying out their stewardship obligations and their behavior in the House of Assembly, that would go a long way to improving or creating good governance. Also, there's a situation where the judiciary is affected by the bad governance, in the sense that in a lot of cases, it is my belief and experience that although the judiciary, it is intended for them to be independent, there's a lot of overreach by the executive and the legislative branch of government that sorts of create intimidation and uncertainty in the judiciary. And a lot of times you cannot get fair decision in terms of the decision doesn't follow fact or law, and in terms of the fact that the decision never comes because the judiciary isn't permitted to do what was intended since time immemorial, which is to function independently. So those are my platform in a nutshell. I've been speaking to them about them on the campaign trail during the various rallies when we launched each of our district candidates, and I brought about piece of each as we went along each night.
Would you, given your background in law, given your background in law, would you then, assuming you are successful, the Virgin Islands Party is successful in regaining the government, would you then help to formulate and draft new legislation if there aren't any? And if there are some, would you help to redefine them? You know, of course, I think you're speaking to some of what we saw took place in a House of Assembly, where ministers failed to answer questions, the order paper being reshuffled, the people's business weren't being answered. Would you sort of redefine, put it into perspective so there be no misunderstanding and these things are written?
Yes, ultimately, I would like to see for the Virgin Islands a ministry of justice. I know that creating any ministry, it takes time. So I see that as a long-term project and initiative. But in terms of legislation, that is the purpose of the legislature, to create legislation. And I would want to be there to help assist and guide in creating legislation that would create a better environment to promote good governance. Now, they would say that there's some legislation there, but my position is that they're not sufficiently detailed, they're not sufficiently streamlined, and that needs to be accomplished. And once we accomplish that, then I believe the public will be more confident that when we as legislators, myself I intend to be, and current ministers step out of the roles that they're supposed to perform, or not perform the stewardship responsibility in the way that is required according to the legislation and the policies, then the public would be satisfied that there is accountability. And I believe that will reduce some of the public's feeling that, oh, every politician is the same, they all say this, they all say that, but there's no real justice, there's no real accountability. And the first step to making it happen is to show the public that here we have put in place legislation, we've put in place policies, and we have some foundation within which to begin.
And you know, some of the biggest challenge we have is, we have a lot of laws in the books, we have a lot of legislation in place, but enforcement is always lacking. What do you say, real brief on that? Is it necessary to have sort of an enforcement arm that's sort of independent from, you know, then an opposition having to call the attention that maybe this is a conflict, or there'll be some independent organization that say, what you're doing is wrong, it's a conflict, and it needs to stop, otherwise this is the repercussion?
Well, that is why I'm saying that the long-term goal, why I call it a long-term goal, because it's not easy to establish a ministry, but I'm contemplating and I'm interested in the initiative of a Ministry of Justice that will streamline the areas of the Attorney General, the Director of Public Prosecution, and to some degree the judicial aspect of things, and take it from directly under the executive, because they cannot function properly if every decision they have to make, they have to go through the executive branch of government. So you take that away. I know that also on the manifesto there should be areas that would be addressing a Ministry of Security, Homeland Security. That too would streamline a bit of our, the security aspects of the country. Now, enforcement, as I said, would probably be covered and should be covered, because if you put good governance legislation, ethics, policies, and so forth in place for ministers, it should work to restrict the overreach that goes into these ministries that deal with the enforcement of the laws and so forth.
Definitely, definitely. Let me shift gears just a little bit. As an at-large person running on the Virgin Islands Party team, obviously sometimes if you're successful again, and you know the government is now the VIP, you don't get a ministerial position, so you're just a representative. Sometimes at-large get lost in the whole democracy. Are you the type of person that will get up and fight? Because you're going to be representing the territory in the interests of the people. You know, you have cries of fishermen, you have cries of transportation. There's so many different areas where concern and needs need to be placed, but we don't seem to get it. Would you be that kind of person to go out and advocate?
Well, that is my strongest point. I'm an advocate. I'm a person that doesn't sit back and let things happen to me. I seek to effect change, and that is why I'm one of the reasons I'm running. Now, an at-large candidate, an at-large representative is responsible for the entire Virgin Islands. If I, perchance, do not get to head a ministry, I will have to work with all the different and various ministers to make sure that the needs of the public are met. And we are part of a team. I believe the Virgin Islands Party is a team. We're uniquely different, but those differences will come together to try to meet all the needs of the 100% Virgin Islanders.
Yeah. What do you, just real quick, what do you say, how do you answer the critics who might be sitting back sometimes and say, she doesn't understand what's going on. You know, she was just tossed in there because the Virgin Islands Party was scrambling for members. It sounded like you were a lifelong supporter of the Virgin Islands. Was this sort of instant kind of thing, or was this already part of the plan?
For me, it was a plan for me, because I didn't wake up one day and they called me and I jumped in. It wasn't a scrambled thought. The party is in existence, I think, since 1971. I see it as an institution that is much bigger than any one individual that is a part of that party. As I said before, the Virgin Islands Party is for and by and of the people. And it is the one party, to my mind, that has always focused on the interests of Virgin Islanders before anything else. And when I decided to join the party, there was a shift or a changeover being taking place in the party. And, you know, having looked at the situation in the country, the state of affairs, the precarious state of affairs, I decided that I would not sit on the sidelines and not try to bring my expertise, to lend my expertise to help make change, the changes that I want to see. And I introduced myself to the party. And I shared with them my willingness and my interest to help them take the interests of the Virgin Islands forward. So I was there from the beginning in terms of wanting to be a part. But what happened, there's a Congress process. The Virgin Islands Party has a Congress. And I had to go through, I'm very happy to go through it though, a process where it was the 76 members who listened to each of us, our aspirations, our platforms, weighed our personalities, our characteristics, and they chose me as a person that they are happy to put forward to represent the Virgin Islands.
That's good. But let me add to that. How do you feel then, having a record number of women? We seem to have more women now than any other time in the BVI history. Are you comfortable being a part of that whole historical move? And as a woman, without, give me a snap view of, as a woman, how do you feel fitting into that?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy that more women have been given an opportunity to take part in shaping from this level the nation, the Virgin Islands. There's an old adage that the hand that rocks the cradle rocks or shapes the nation. And we as women have been doing it from time immemorial because we are the foundation, we are the home. And to now be able to take it to this level where we are going to be the ones, if given the opportunity by the public, legislating and shaping legislation that will affect and govern the Virgin Islands, that is a good place to be. And that is a place that women need to be because we understand the home. We understand the children that later become our future leaders.
Great.
And we shape them.
Great.
Yes.
What's your vision overall for the BVI? We're in some challenging time. I mean, 2007, 2008, all the way up to 2012, we saw some of our worst economic times worldwide and not just the BVI. What's your vision for the BVI going forward?
My vision for the BVI going forward is a prosperous, inclusive Virgin Islands. Right now, as I said, the Virgin Islands, it would seem, and there's much evidence, I don't know if it would seem, that the interest of the 1% is taken care of to the exclusion of the 99%. And I need to see that change, and I believe many Virgin Islanders want to see that change. So going forward, I believe it would be in the best interest of Virgin Islanders to consider the Virgin Islands Party, the party that is for the interest of the people, the common people, the wealthy people, the investors, but the Virgin Islands as a whole, to make it more prosperous, to maintain sustainable economic growth and development.
Well, adding to that, what is your take, given your position and your background, on the whole blacklist thing? You know, France still, I think, have us on the blacklist.
Well, the Virgin Islands has over 40% shares in the offshore finance market, and 51.4% of government revenues come from offshore financing. So to be on France blacklist and to be weighed the way we are by the Americans, by America as a state of laundering, money laundering, and fraudulent activities is a significant blow to the industry for the Virgin Islands, and it is something that needs to be rectified and revised and revisited urgently.
Awesome. And I'm sure once you're in there, you'll bring forth your best effort to rectify those situations.
Yes.
All right. Well, we got about maybe 3 or 4 minutes left. I'm going to ask you just yes or no questions. If you can just keep it that way, cool. Would you support the development of the airport?
If there's a development of the airport that is in the best interest of the Virgin Islanders, yes, I will support that.
Awesome. Would you support legislation that can further strengthen, maybe giving BV Islanders a little bit more leeway in the fishing industry?
We need to put our people to work. The waters, our maritime boundaries and our waters for the interests, they're to be used for the interests of the Virgin Islanders, and I would support legislation that allows the fishing industry for the benefit of the Virgin Islanders.
Awesome. We need to find some ways in there to really boost entrepreneurship locally from inside out, not outside in.
That's correct.
Moving forward, real quick in crime, give me 2 quick snap ideas you would use to help, fight crime.
Fight crime. That is very wide.
Well, let me narrow it down. Let's say domestic crime. We have a lot of domestic issues going on in the community, and we've seen an increase in gun crime.
I believe it's more a holistic approach that is needed, because it's a social issue as well as an economic issue, because we have to allow the people to thrive. We have to stimulate job. We have to have job stimulation. We have to create business opportunities, small business opportunities that are sustainable. Thus, my interest in creating or adding additional industries to the market that can create job employment opportunities for a wider variety of people, because everybody cannot get involved in the financial industry. Everybody cannot benefit from the tourism industry. So we need to diversify. And if we are able to create opportunities for mothers and people who come out of school, young people, creating job entrepreneurial opportunities, that will in its way reduce crime, because people who are happy and can eat and can thrive rarely involved in crime.
Yes, definitely. Well, it's the idle hand creates crime. So if it's not productive, if it's not doing its own thing and staying away from, being idle, of course, yes, it's going to commit crime. So we at the tyranny of the clock. Look into the camera. Tell the people, a little bit about you, what you're going to bring. Tell them why they should vote for you as an at-large person running on the Virgin Islands Party ticket.
Ladies and gentlemen, on June 8th, I'm asking you to vote for me, Chairman Rosanee Bunbury, at-large candidate of the Virgin Islands Party. I bring with me a wealth of knowledge and experience through my legal background and exposure in working in various departments with the government. I am also part of the Virgin Islands Party, the party for the people of the Virgin Islands. I believe that if given an opportunity, the Virgin Islands Party will do great things in the Virgin Islands in taking this country forward for the betterment of all Virgin Islanders. So on June 8th, come out and vote for me and vote for the Virgin Islands Party. And don't forget me, I said it already, Chairman Rosanee Bunbury. Give me a vote, put your trust in me to take this country with the Virgin Islands Party in one direction forward.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another brave soul that braved the stage and has set the record straight, put her plans on the table. It's now up to you to decide who you want to represent this country moving forward. Join me again for another report. We'll hope to have some more candidates, and of course, share it with your friends, your relatives, and let them know that we are open. We are open for anyone who has a plan, a vision, and would like to share that with you. So again, stay tuned. Until next time, thank you for watching.